you have made clear that this is a non-negotiable situation. There's the border is the border, and the ICJ is going to be the deciding factor. So when you go into a meeting with President Maduro on Thursday, it doesn't seem like there's really a lot of room for discussion. And I'm wondering, are there any areas of potential compromise or anything that you might be able to put on the table, when you're coming in a position of non-negotiation?
Yeah, first of all, I'm very pleased to be on your program. And Guyana's position has remained very consistent over the years. One is we respect this zone, this region, as a region of peace, as a region of stability. And we will do everything within our powers to ensure that this region remains a zone of peace and a region of great stability. Now, it is very important for us to understand the historical context of this border controversy. Our borders were settled in 1899, as everyone appreciates, and all of our international friends are very aware of this and are supporting this fundamental truth. That is, the borders were settled in 1899. However, leading up to our independence, there was a controversy raised by Venezuela. In addressing that controversy, the Geneva Agreement came into existence. In the Geneva Agreement itself, it allows for the United Nations Secretary General to name the place or the process through which this controversy will be settled if the parties did not come to an agreement. Of course, the party over decades upon decades did not arrive at an agreement, and the United Nations Secretary General decided that the ICJ is the place that this controversy will be settled. Guyana has maintained, will continue to maintain, that that is the place where this controversy will be settled. We are not going to exit this process, and we are going to respect the outcome of this process. And we ask Venezuela to participate fully and to respect the outcome of the process at the ICJ. Now, if you look at the letter of invitation I received from St. Vincent, it spoke about consequential issues. Consequential issues include the use of threat or the threat of force or the use of force. We have seen a level of aggression coming out of Venezuela that is not consistent with peaceful coexistence as neighbors. After the referendum, we have seen Venezuela taking actions contrary to the order of the ICJ. As you know, based on the questions of the referendum, we went to the ICJ to seek precautionary measures. And those measures stated very clearly that Venezuela could not act upon the results of any of the questions in annexing Essequibo or taking any action that would lead to changing of the change of the status quo, which is Essequibo belongs to Guyana and Guyana administers Essequibo. So in terms of the talks and the discussions and conversation that we'll have, there are many things. As neighbors, we have to coexist. We have to talk on issues of development. We have issues of climate change. We have issues in which we can have joint collaboration, in which we can explore how we develop our countries for the full prosperity of the people of our countries, and basically to de-escalate the situation. So I think that this initial meeting will be a meeting in which both sides, we have already established strongly our fundamentals, areas that we are not going to compromise or move from. But there are many other issues, I think, that we can discuss, and modalities on future interaction, establishment of technical groups and working group to look at the development part, if we are serious about the prosperity of our people and ensuring that this zone remains a zone of peace, there are many, many issues consequential to the controversy that has to be discussed. I'm very pleased that Brazil, the CARICOM, CELAC, they're all involved. Now, I want to make one additional point based on your question, and that is Guyana has always prided itself as a good global citizen, and we have tremendous respect for our international partners and our regional partners. And our regional partners, who are all very strong in support of Guyana, in support of the 1899 arbitral award, and in support of the ICJ process, reached out to us and asked us to have this conversation. And I think it would have been irresponsible to our regional partners if we did not also have this conversation with Maduro. As you know, Brazil wanted to convene this discussion, CARICOM, CELAC. So we are a strong regional partner. We want the region to know that we will do everything within our power to ensure the region remains peaceful and stable. But we are also working, our work will continue with our international partners on, we have a very elaborate defense cooperation program with the Department of Defense of the United States. And that we have a full training program ongoing, and that will continue. We'll continue to monitor the situation. But I think we have a responsibility to ensure that whilst we establish our fundamental position, we explore every avenue to have Venezuela de-escalate this level of aggression and threat, and then for us to work towards a peaceful coexistence.
President Ali, you mentioned Brazil in your comments. What is your expectation do you see Brazil's support? Do you feel their support? Do you think that Lula can, for example, exert his influence on Maduro to help de-escalate the conflict?
Well, Brazil has made it very clear that they are on the side of international law. They support the process of the ICJ, but at the same time, they call for conversations and meetings. So I have had the opportunity to speak to President Lula on more than one occasions on this issue. We are totally engaged with the Foreign Ministry and the advisors, and we feel that Brazil has tremendous regards for Guyana, and Brazil is in strong support of Guyana's position. That support is unwavering in terms of the ICJ, in terms of respect for the border, because as you know, Venezuela also, we also share border, and we have the trimarker between Brazil, Guyana, and Venezuela. We must not forget that. Brazil also will be part of these meetings as an observer. It is expected that President Lula will be there, but I have not gotten the confirmation on what the delegation will be like from Brazil. But from what I'm told by the Prime Minister of St. Vincent, who is also the president of CELAC now, the President Lula is expected to be there.
President Ali, I'd like to jump to another topic, which is Maduro has made very public threats to companies, which particularly Exxon, which he claims are operated on disputed waters. Have you been in touch with Exxon and the heads of other companies about whether they're pausing their current operations? Are they waiting to see how the conflict will play out? What are you advising them to do? Are operations continuing as of now? Can you give us a little bit of insight on that?
Yeah, I'll come to that. But, you know, there's a funny story. Maduro tells his population that Exxon is imperialism in the region. And up to last night and yesterday, I see Maduro encouraging Chevron and BP to return investment in Venezuela and to invest in Venezuela. And he forgot that Exxon also invested in Venezuela. And at the heartbeat, Maduro would like Exxon to invest back in Venezuela. So it is just, you know, if people in Venezuela really dig into the type of propaganda narrative that Maduro is spreading, it will tell them the whole story, what this is all about. As it relates to Exxon, and I want to correct, you know, the narrative too. It is not Exxon alone. It is Exxon, CNOOC, and Hess who are operating in Guyana. It is very interesting that Maduro never mentioned anything about CNOOC. And CNOOC is part of the consortium, and CNOOC is a Chinese company. Now, this tells us, this opens up a lot of discourse within the region in relation to the propaganda narrative. But as it relates to Exxon and all the members of the consortium, they are moving ahead aggressively with their production plan. All the exploration in this region, Essequibo region, will continue. All our investments, both at the public and private level, will continue. There's absolutely no slowing down. There's absolutely no slow or no holding back in the investments that we have for Essequibo, as we have for the other 9 administrative regions and the other 2 counties of Guyana. So there is absolutely no fear from our investors. We know that we are on the right side of international law. We are on the right side of moral and ethics, and we are on the right side of history. We are on the right side of facts. And we are subjecting ourselves to international norms through the ICJ and the ruling of the ICJ. So our investors are very strong. Our investors are solid, and there's absolutely no sloth or no signal of any sloth in the pace of development.
Would you at all consider the possibility of joint ventures with Venezuela in the Essequibo region for oil production or exploration?
Now, I don't want to explore that, but of course, we had an auction, a public auction, and any country in the world or any company in the world could have participated in that auction. We don't have a closed investment climate. We have an open investment policy. Everyone is welcome to participate in our development, once they understand that when they participate in the development of Guyana, that they have to abide by the rules of Guyana. They have to abide by the geographic space of Guyana, and they have to respect our country. So, I mean, we're not closing. There are many possibilities as a region. We have already said as a country that we want to be part of the regional energy security. We want to be part of the regional climate security, and we want to be part of the regional food security. These are 3 areas that Guyana is focusing heavily in a world 2030 and beyond, including the development of renewables, hydro, and we are talking to Brazil about hydro and how power, clean energy can be integrated into northern Brazil. You know, of course, one of the largest project, one of the most important and transformative project for the region and for Brazil is the deepwater port in Guyana and the road link between Guyana and Brazil. That would unlock tremendous possibilities for northern Brazil, but at the same time, it would improve the competitiveness of northern Brazil and the products and produce going in and out of northern Brazil. This deepwater harbor is tremendously important for Brazil. So Guyana is very important and strategically positioned as an interconnector, if I may use that term, between the region and further field. And we are not closing our doors, because we will have to discuss as a region what regional energy security would look like, what regional food security would look like, what the regional climate security would look like. And Venezuela is part of the region, and that conversation must include Venezuela. That is why the conversation is important. There's so many things to discuss in this conversation, and that conversation can lead to the peaceful coexistence and respect for each other's borders.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to go back to Thursday meeting. You have a mandate from Congress not to debate the border, that this is a matter for the ICJ to decide. So I wanted to know if do you fear this position would derail talks just before they start?
I don't fear this position at all. This
Okay.
is our position, and there is no compromise on that position. So if President Maduro want to use this position to abandon talks, that will be unfortunate. But this is Guyana's position. Our position is that the UN Secretary General chose the ICJ, and we are respecting this process to the end. And we will respect and abide by the outcome of the ICJ process. So, I spoke earlier about the many other important issues that we have to confront as a region, that we have to work together as a region that can form part of a discourse that would allow for the peaceful coexistence of all countries within the region and Venezuela and Guyana. And that is why it's important that Brazil and leaders of CARICOM are there and CELAC, because there need to be a regional context to this, because this has tremendous implications for the region. We have never contemplated a region that is destabilized by conflict. That has implications for every single country within the region, including Brazil, including CARICOM.
President Ali, I also wanted to follow up on your comments about the oil producers and the confidence that you expressed that they have in continuing forward full steam ahead. I presume from that you have spoken with senior leadership at these companies. I'm sure they've been calling to inquire about all this, and I'm wondering specifically about the Chinese and Sinnock, what conversations you've had with them.
Well, all the companies, this is one consortium that is led by Exxon. They are 100% forging ahead. There is absolutely no sloth from any one of them. And also we are pushing ahead with the companies who participated in the auction. We have said that we want to ramp up in the safest possible way within the confines of environmental norms and sustainability norms, to have our production ramped up to play important and key part in the region, to develop our gas resources, to develop our renewable resources, including hydroelectricity, and to advance work on food security and climate change. We have to work as a region to deploy our total natural asset base in the fight on climate, and also to work out as a region how we're going to safeguard biodiversity in our ecosystem, because these are going to become key issues as we move forward as a region in the global context.
President Ali Maduro hasn't confirmed any deployment, officially hasn't confirmed any deployment of troops to the border. I was wondering what your intelligence is on that. And then another question, we have several military experts in Venezuela who think that Maduro might want to cause some disruption at the border in order to call for an emergency status in Venezuela, which will allow him to delay elections and an array of other things. What is your perception on that, and what will your response be?
Well, the same type of analysis that you have received, we are receiving, and that is there are many possibilities, and that is what I think that people have to understand. The complexities of this issue in terms of their own internal scenario add different possibilities. One is the possibility of derailing the elections. What are the conditions that would allow for the postponement of derailment of elections? But that is their internal matter. What I'm focused on is to ensure that whatever is the political or social situation in Venezuela does not overspill to Guyana, or does not affect any of our development, our social economic development, or does not trespass on our territorial integrity or sovereignty. And that is what we are building in our response agenda. Yes, we are having discussions, we are having conversations and meetings on Thursday, but at the same time, we are continuing to ensure that we are in a position with our international partners to defend what is ours, to protect what is ours, and to ensure that Guyana's territorial integrity and sovereignty remains intact. That is priority for us.
Have you received any information from your armed forces about Venezuela increasing its troop presence near the border, or the Venezuelan Navy maneuvering close to the border?
Well, we are continuously monitoring the situation. We have information about different forms of building up. And what is concerning to us is even after the ICJ orders, Maduro proceeded to announce a series of measures to give effect to the outcome of the referendum, including setting a time frame for companies operating in our territory, in the Essequibo, including the threat of issuing license. And those are not things we are taking for granted. Those are things that are serious, because it is actually, if you look at or look around us at recent stories, it is actually following a model. It is actually following a style that can lead to occupation. So we are taking it very seriously, and when a leader confines himself within a time frame, of course, that is added reasons why we must take it seriously. And we are not only taking it seriously, we are working on the assumption that one of these options, or these options that we are all exploring, may become active.
And are troops in the border region have they been ordered to try to avoid any type of friction, or how have they been ordered to react if there is a provocation from the Venezuelan side? So
our troop has one basic instruction, and that is to maintain the peace and stability on our borders, and that is to secure the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Guyana. And as I said before, our training program continues. We are about peace. Our approach to this is to have a peaceful outcome. We are not the aggressor here, and we will never be the aggressor. We are not the aggressor, and we will never be the aggressor. But make no mistake, our troops are going to ensure that the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Guyana is respected, is honored, and is safeguarded.
Mr. President, I also wanted to ask you about your forecasts for the economy. Would you be able to give us your GDP forecasts for this year and next year, and also your forecasts for oil output over the next few years?
Well, as you know, our economy is growing at an accelerated pace. But the growth of the economy that is primarily driven by oil is not going to be the structure of the economy. Right now, we are working on broadening the structure of our economy, ensuring that our energy portfolio is diversified, and building the infrastructure to become a major player in food security, investing in our human resources, giving our people the best possible health care and education services, improving our infrastructure, improving our competitiveness, building our governance system, our institutional system to withstand the growth and to be strong enough to ensure a transparent and accountable growth, good governance, building the mechanism to ensure that the economy we want to create, which includes economy that will have climate change and environmental services as a key component, biodiversity services, the carbon market. We are working on advancing our work in the carbon market. We are leading the world in terms of forests and the using forests as a major carbon offset and storage. You know, we have one of the first end user agreement with Hess. We are working on digitization, the digitization of the economy, working on building the future that includes AI, that includes robotics. So we are building an economy ahead of its time. We understand that we are way behind the world. We can't work in a straight line to catch up to the rest of the world. So we are building with the best available technology, the best available knowledge and research that is available now, and then catch up, bring the population up with that. We're also working on nearshore, creating a nearshore industry here because of our geographic positioning for higher value jobs. And these are some of the things that we are working on. Integration of the CARICOM, Brazil, Suriname into what we are doing. You know, our forest is the size of England and Scotland combined. We have the lowest deforestation rate in the world. We have huge reserves of bauxite. We have gold reserves. So we want to develop a sustainable model that is a role model for the world in ensuring the advancement and development of our country and people, with our natural resources playing an important role, but with limited impact on the environment. Now, I wanted to say that because it is not only about oil and gas and what oil and gas will do for the country. We have just completed our national gas strategy, which went out to a public consultation. So that also will bring in a series of revenue because we are looking to monetize that gas as quickly as possible. And we are going to build out a model through which there will be a special interest in having local and regional investment into that gas strategy that we seek to monetize as quickly as possible. So that will be another stream of industry, another stream of economic benefit that will come as we monetize the gas. We're also working in the first tranche of gas that will come within a year time to have the cost of energy reduced by 50% in Guyana. That will make us now very, very competitive in terms of industrial development, manufacturing, agro-processing, agrochemicals. So these are the type of things that are going to drive the economy. So there'll be continuous growth. The 60% that you heard about last year and the closer to 40% and the projection of over between 25 to 30% in the medium term is I think is a very conservative number because the value added component is going to drive that even up more. Outside of that, we are focusing heavily on the strengthening of our human resource base, investment in tourism and hospitality. You know, our country is very, very rich, maybe one of the most naturally competitive country when it comes to ecotourism. So we're putting a lot of impetus in ecotourism, which is a high value product. We have a number of hotels being constructed now. We're looking now at ecotourism facilities, and all of this will diversify the economy and will create higher value jobs. To support this, we're investing in a hospitality training institute. We have a national skills training institute that not only will cater for the workers for the oil and gas sector, but will also train workers for a maritime industry. Because out of all of this, we expect a very resilient and strong maritime industry would evolve that will require a different skill set, a different level of skills, and all of that we are programming and we are planning for. Of course, the per capita, the GDP per capita moved from, in just 3 years, from about 7,500 to 17,000 today. In 2-3 years, it will go to 35,000. That is as a result of the strong growth that will take place from our production in the oil sector going to about 1.2 million barrels per day. So, and of course, the reserve continues to expand as more and more exploration continues. This is really the story. This is really the energy story of the world right now, Guyana. And I want to look into the future a bit. Even if the world decides that only by 2050, only 20% of our energy must come from oil. Let us say, in the unlikely scenario, because we are not, the truth be told, we have, decades upon decades of oil, of having oil as part of the energy mix, because we are not nowhere up to scale or nowhere near scale for the renewables. So, but let us just assume that we say 20% of the world energy would come from oil. Then what are the criteria that will determine who produced that 20%? Definitely, if it is based on climate change, then climate change and climate-related issues must be the main criteria. And if you look at that, then Guyana would be perhaps in the top 1% based on the net off in terms of what we do on the climate side and the impact that the oil and gas industry would have.
President Ali, this has been enormously helpful. I do wonder, that we are a global news organization. We have readers and viewers around the world. Is there any final thoughts you'd like to share? You're sort of speaking to the world here about Guyana, about the situation with Venezuela. Anything we haven't asked that you think is important to understand?
I think we have covered a lot of ground, but I think we should continue this conversation, one in which we can focus on the economic realities of Guyana and to present Guyana as a major investment front for global companies. I look at your program at 1 every morning. I get my economic and financial update from your programs. And it is important, I think, that maybe you do a feature here also on the type of transformation that is taking place, because it is enormous transformation. And it's not transformation that is that's oil and gas centered. It is using the revenue from oil and gas to present Guyana as a model for many global on many global issues and for global solutions, including food, climate, ecological services, biomedical services. This is where we're taking the country. Biodiversity services. Sometimes we forget that in the last 50 years, we have lost about 65% of the world's biodiversity. We have kept our biodiversity intact. That by itself is a tremendous asset. And that is an asset in the future that will carry a huge value, must carry a huge value. And these are the things that we have to set ourselves up and set our development path in such a way that we don't lose any of this, because this will be important value to the global system moving forward. And that is exactly what we're focusing on. So I want to say to our investors that our investment climate is open, it is stable. There is nothing to fear. We are an open economy. We respect foreign investment, and we look forward to welcoming many investors, especially those who can start looking into the future. Look, we have everything that can support large-scale manufacturing of solar panels. Our natural assets is enormous. We have abundant fresh water. We dump fresh water into the Atlantic. We have abundant fresh water. We have arable lands. Right now, we have launched a project through which we will be self-sufficient in corn and soya. And our future is directly linked to northern Brazil. The output of northern Brazil must get to the world market in a more competitive way. And the only way that can be done is through the interlink between Guyana and Brazil and the deepwater port. And we're working aggressively on having this deepwater port built. And just imagine saving 8 days of transportation time to get to the Atlantic. That is what this link would do and would establish. And imagine the opportunities that will be created for the world. So we will stay connected. I am very thankful for this time. And I want you to know that Guyana is a stable economy, open economy, and one that welcomes foreign direct investments.